Located in Buford, Georgia, about 23 miles outside of Atlanta, there's a new exhibit featuring over 300 artifacts, life-size reconstructed rooms, 3D views, video animations, and state-of-the-art technology. RMS Titanic was an ocean liner that sank on April 15, 1912 as a result of striking an iceberg on her maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York City. Of the estimated 2,224 passengers and crew aboard, approximately 1,500 died, making the incident one of the deadliest peacetime sinkings of a single ship ever. Today, Atlanta's gonna show you its Titanic Exhibit, which recreates this moment. Opening in July of 2024, the exhibit hub is located at 5660 Buford Highway. So let's see what's inside.
Joy.
Hi Joy, I'm Frank. This is Gina.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
They have Van Gogh too.
Oh, okay, cool.
That one, you also, you're sitting down the whole time, and you'll be still doing your
Cool. Okay. So
She reminds me of Kimmy for some reason.
Yeah, she does. Okay. So go ahead. Okay, go ahead and give the introduction.
Welcome to our exhibit,
And where are you guys located?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. And this is what exhibit?
This is our exhibition hub.
Okay.
We have two little exhibits. This one over there is our Titanic one. That's what you guys are going to today.
Okay.
And that one is our Van Gogh one.
Okay.
This one's a little more artsy. Well, that one's more historical.
Okay.
And it tells you the story about, well, not the story, but what happened basically when this ship that was built called the Titanic, which was very historical for its time.
Sure.
When it was built, and it unfortunately hit an iceberg, and
Yeah, we know the story. Yeah.
And then this one's just about a man named Van Gogh from the 1600s, I believe. He was a very well-renowned artist after he died. So it just tells you a little bit more about that.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. All right.
So as we walk through the corridor, the first exhibit you see are artifacts and pictures of the crew of the Titanic. Once receiving your ID badges and taking your photo, you're off into the exhibit. The first main room that you get to is loaded with Titanic pictures and memorabilia.
So what do you think, Jada?
I'm gonna go down here.
Okay.
As you move along, you get to actually recreate the scene from Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet's scene between Jack and Rose.
Okay. There we go. Check you out. Rose. Oh, Rose.
The exhibit even has the actual clothing that Leonardo DiCaprio wore and the jewelry that Kate Winslet wore during the filming of the 1997 movie, The Titanic. So as we move along, you get to see some of the navigatable routes that the ships would follow during that time. This exhibit allows you to embark on a captivating journey to learn about one of history's most iconic tragedies through the lens of a passenger. Here you can see some of the various ship sizes of the time. Although no comparison to the ship sizes of today, in 1912, Titanic was actually one of the largest. What most people don't know is that Titanic was one of three sisters to Britannica, the Olympic, and of course the Titanic. More than a century after the Titanic hit an iceberg in the chilly Atlantic Ocean, killing more than 1,500 people, the tragedy remains a fascinating touchstone in American history, generating no shortage of books, documentaries, and films, as well as standalone museums and, of course, exhibits. The exhibit is cleverly designed, with the walls containing information concerning the cruise ship and its crew. You can see the RMS Titanic in a shipyard and look at its massive propellers. This was, of course, before its maiden deadly voyage. Next, you're taken to an iceberg room that gives you a depiction of what a massive iceberg looks like. It also has some descriptive points about them. The digital description gives you the path of the RMS Titanic on that deadly day. We've added music and sound effects to give you more of an immersive feeling. The iceberg suspected of downing the Titanic was massive.
They are carried north by the currents, far away from shipping lanes, until they are diverted.
Moving along, the room where you actually board this massive vessel is loaded with more artifacts of the ship. There's vintage luggage, and then you have the walkway or gateway leading up to the entrance of the ship. So let's go ahead and enter the RMS Titanic in Atlanta, Georgia. One thing you'll be for sure is the Atlanta exhibit designers went to great lengths to try and replicate the ship. As you continue through the corridor, you finally enter an area where there's memorabilia of the dining rooms, just to give you a sense of what it was like to have dinner or lunch on the ship. At the time of its sinking, the Titanic was a beacon of luxury. At the time, some of the wealthiest people on Earth went down with this ship. As you glance through the staterooms, dining rooms, and lounging areas, you can tell the luxury that some of these passengers experienced. Quite the contrary, if you were in second or third class, you did not experience the same luxuries. While some of the passengers on the Titanic were cruising just to be cruising, most were trying to make a better life for themselves in New York and were hoping once they got there that it would happen. Unfortunately for them, fate would have a different plan. And here you can see Gina taking a well-deserved break before continuing on. And here Gina's taking a photo of a cabin and what it would have looked like on the Titanic. And once reviewing some of the staterooms and some of the second and third class cabins, you finally get to view the long staircase. The real staircase was said to be immaculately beautiful, and the staircase used in the 1997 movie is iconic. But here's Atlanta's version, Hey, and you see Frank and Gina. Next, as the ship continues on its maiden voyage, you get to review the bridge of the ship. This would have been where Edward John Smith, who was a British captain, commanded the ship. Although the tragedy was horrible in itself, no one hardly talks about the brave souls that worked in the engineering room during the time the ship was hit. Some of them never made it out of their compartments. If you were a worker in one of these rooms in 1912, the rooms were so hot that soot built up on everyone's faces as they raked the coal. The ship's grand construction to its fatal collision with the iceberg, the Atlanta Exhibition of the Titanic allows visitors to fully immerse themselves into what a passenger would have felt like while being on the ship. In the 1997 depiction of the Titanic's fatal sinking, the characters Jack and Rose were fighting to unlock a gate. Well, the Atlanta Exhibit has recreated that moment to some degree.
Is it really? Oh, wow. This is...
We gotta hurry.
You gotta hurry, baby. Let's go. Get out of here. Go to your left. Get out of here.
And if you survive the raging water and make it out on the other side, there are more artifacts here telling you more about the ship, the passengers, and its crew.
Always existed.
And if this isn't enough, there's a presentation where you get to sit in a lifeboat and actually experience what the passengers would have felt while watching the ship go down. Even though this is a digital presentation, the somber feeling inside the room is obvious. The presentation has minute-by-minute updates as to what the passengers were experiencing, the communication between the Carpathia and the Titanic, and other communications. And here you get a feeling for what it would have been like as the ship was sinking and if you were caught inside. If you do your research, the part of the Atlantic Ocean that the Titanic was sailing in, although it was a normally traveled route, they were literally in the middle of nowhere. As the ship continued to list, you get an idea of the chaos that was ensuing on board as passengers were scrambling for their lives. As the time winds down to the sinking, you get an eerie feeling as we know what's going to happen. The sound of metal cracking and bending can be heard. A total of 2,240 people sailed on the maiden voyage of the Titanic, the second of White Star Line's Olympic-class ocean liners from Southampton, England, to New York. Partway through the voyage, the ship struck an iceberg and sank in the early morning hours of April 15, 1912, resulting in the deaths of 1,517 passengers and crew. Recent studies have shown that number could have been much, much higher, as there were many undocumented immigrants traveling from England to New York for a better life. As you see the ship descend into the depths of the ocean, you can't help but wonder how many of those people were still alive as that ship was descending, eventually resting on the bottom of the Atlantic more than 2 miles beneath the surface. The demonstration also shows you as the Carpathia arrived on the scene. Too late for those on board. The ship's passengers were divided into 3 separate classes determined by the price of their ticket. Those traveling in first class, most of them were the wealthiest passengers on board, including prominent members of upper-class businessmen, politicians, high-ranking military personnel, industrialists, bankers, entertainers, socialites, and professional athletes. Second-class passengers were predominantly middle-class travelers, including professors, authors, clergymen, and tourists. Third-class or steerage passengers were primarily immigrants moving to the United States and Canada for a better life. As you almost wrap up the exhibit, you move to a final area, and if you purchase those VIP tickets, which cost about $15 to $20 more than the regular ones, you're going to experience the best part of the entire exhibit. The way it works is, you're fitted with a VR headset. This room that looks like a checkerboard is actually the inside of the Titanic, and it submerges you into what it actually felt like. Believe me, it's worth it. Well, for obvious reasons, I couldn't get footage of what we actually saw, but believe me, you'll enjoy it. Gina did. So, if you're traveling through Atlanta or if you live in Atlanta, you gotta visit the Atlanta Titanic Exhibit. The building outside doesn't do any justice to what's inside. Please like, share, and subscribe to Where in the World is Frank and Gina on YouTube. God bless. Take care.